Okay, guys, welcome. This is Jared Goring, and this is my EDU 528 final budget report that I've compiled here with a total of $60,000 as my final budget. A few things before we get started here. I've simply compiled all of the wish lists and put them on the tabs down here at the bottom of the screen, starting with boys basketball, and I believe going all the way to volleyball. Simply what I've done is looked at the wish lists. I have put the highlighted yellow items are the items that have been purchased, and the red items are the items that have been cut from the budget. What I simply did is I looked for needs, most importantly, as opposed to wants. And I also looked at safety being my number one concern, rather than dividing up equally amongst the 14 different sports that I have compiled here to hopefully keep it under the $60,000 mark, which I have, and you'll find out here at the end what that final number is. As far as the Title IX goes, I did reference the cheerleading, the softball, the girls basketball, and the volleyball, and made sure that those budget numbers were equal with the male sports as well. So we were in compliance with that Title IX law of 1972. So first off here, we have boys basketball. As you can see, the yellow items here totaling $10,000 was obviously the highest sport that was spent, simply because of the gun shoot away. I went back in at the end after compiling and having some money left, felt that this was a need that could be used both by the boys and girls basketball programs together. So the uniforms, the basketballs, the practice jerseys were something that were a want rather than the slip knots and the chair caddies and the bench chairs being a need, or excuse me, the other way around. That's why they were kept. Moving on to football here. The football wish list was all granted. Quite frankly, I found it not very large at all. Thought there would be more on this wish list to begin with. But this budget for this sport in particular totaled $1,700 with shoulder pads, the knee pads, the footballs, the camcorder, and the storage rack. As far as cheerleading goes, this is quite an extensive list. Therefore, you see a lot of red on it. A lot of wants here as opposed to a lot of needs. So simply purchased the home and away uniforms, the pom-poms, the tumbling mats for the safety and the rainwear, because of you are at the mercy of the weather when we're outside at football games. Therefore, you don't stop cheering. That's why I purchased the rainwear at that cost, totaling $5,000. Or just over $5,000 for the cheerleading wish list. As far as wrestling goes, this entire wish list was granted, as I saw a lot of need for safety here with the mouth guards, the knee pads, the headgear, the singlets. Again, this is for something, a sport that can be used for both. I know in the state of Kansas now we're introducing females to the game as well, as far as being a recognized interscholastic sport here at the Acacia level. So a lot of this can be used for both male and female in reaching that Title IX compliance as well. As far as lacrosse goes, a lot of yellow here. The total spent just over $3,500. Again, a lot of safety went into play here with the shin guards, the chest protector, the goalie gloves and headgear, and the women's gloves as well. So again, this is a lot of girls' equipment, but again, a lot of this stuff can be shared amongst the boys and girls teams. Again, making sure that we're hitting that compliance for Title IX. Softball, you can see here, a lot of the uniforms were purchased. As far as the equipment goes, needed the softballs, dozen softballs there, the batting helmets, and the fast pitch catcher's gear set as well, totaling just over $1,900 for softball. As far as field hockey goes, Um, top 6 items on that wish list were granted, totaling just under $2,000 being spent. Again, the hockey sticks, the practice balls, and then a lot of safety here with the goalkeeper, leg guards, the body arm with the arm guards, and the goalkeeper girdle as well. Girls basketball, granted the top 4 on their wish list here with the 28.5 basketballs because, again, that is a different size basketball than what the men use. So therefore, we could not share between the 2 programs. So we got 24 of those, totaling just under $1,000. The practice jerseys that needed to be replaced, the practice water bottles, and the game water bottles. And then we also purchased the Huddle software and Sony HD camera after going back in and totaling that we had some money left over to spend. Felt that was more of a want rather than a need because of filming purposes and going back through and watching game film is a priority for any coach these days. As far as baseball goes, really the top ones on this list, the pro batting cage was one that was a question mark early on, but felt that it was a need for the budget, even though it was just over $4,000. The biggest thing here was the safety of the kids at practice, unless balls going across the road that was behind the bleachers. Again, the home plates, the major league bases, the baseballs, and then the pitcher protective screen for all the players' safety, most importantly. Women's track and field, again, almost all of this was granted, all but one, the sweatsuits, just because it was quite an extensive item here, $8,750. That money can help be funded through PTO, through some fundraising efforts. But again, that's more of a want than a need. All of these up here with the stopwatch and the starting blocks, the hurdles, the uniforms, tape measures, discus cage. Again, those are all needs for the program, and most importantly, safety of the program with this discus cage here, totaling just over $5,000. As far as women's soccer goes, again, a lot of the wish list was granted, in particular up here with the uniforms and the apparel. This was simply the home and away uniforms, followed by the goalkeeper's pants and the socks and the goalkeeper's jersey. That went hand in hand, all at a relatively good price, just totaling over $8,000 for that apparel. And then simply the equipment, we granted the 24 game pack of the soccer balls and eliminated the training mannequins and the speed hurdle pack. As far as the soccer goes, total spent just over $9,000. So probably coming in a close second to boys basketball as far as the wish list goes. Men's soccer here, again, this is something that the wish list I thought would be a little bit more extensive than what it was going in. But again, 30 practice balls totaling just over $1,000 were purchased. The scrimmage vests, the cones, and the practice flags. And we cut the agility ladder because simply we used one that was already in stock with our strength and conditioning program. With that total just being over $3,000, we were well inside what was allocated for that program on the budget. And then finally here, volleyball. And again, another list that I thought would be a little bit larger, but we granted the top 4 wish lists here with the uniforms, the warm-up shirts, the game volleyballs, and the practice volleyballs, spending just over $2,600. Therefore, cutting kind of the travel jackets and travel sweatpants, as you can see there in red, that we felt were more of a want rather than a need for the program at this time, and therefore could be funded through PTO and other fundraising. Final calculation, as you can see right here, $57,000, just over $57,000. So, $2,500 or so under the $60,000 budget. So we were well within that budget that was set to us, and feel pretty confident. Safety first, and matching all those wish lists that were needs.